Alright, so let's get right into the list. So the first thing I want to talk about are essentially how we're going to be dividing up the tiers, or what they mean. This S tier is mostly the overtune category and are generally in due or in need of nerfs. A plus, they don't need a lot of changes. Most characters should be brought to A plus, so everyone feels really fun. This is the good stuff. A, most of these characters don't need touches either, but if they did, no one complained too much. They're also top tier balancing. A minus, need a few buffs. You're gonna be at a general disadvantage if you pick these characters, but they're still viable. You can still win with them. I would say they really start to fall off at the highest levels of play. And FF stands for fatally flawed, or fundamentally flawed, either way. These characters, no matter what you were to change about them, the only way to fix their problems and what holds them back would be to rework the character or change the game's mechanics, which probably neither are going to happen. So these characters are doomed to have problems inherently with them. You'll see in a bit, this game is very well balanced, generally speaking. So these characters can still win, but they just take much more effort. And if people can abuse their matchup, sometimes they can only be used as a counter pick. It can't be like solo main all the time. Right at the beginning, where I have, this should all be alphabetical. We have Ada. Ada has blasters and the spear. A very glass cannon-y style of legend. I'm gonna put Ada probably a bit lower than most people would say she deserves. She's either gonna be probably close to the bottom of A plus or the top of A. So right now I'll just drop her A plus. For signatures, she has two very fast signatures that are unreactable and they will just kill you. But I don't want to put her higher because her stats can hold her back a little bit. For weapons, they are a good combo because they do they're all-rounder style weapons. They can do a bit like everything they need to, and they don't overlap a lot either because how they go about doing it has like different angles. But the character has too much overlap with their signature kit. Specifically, Blasters has 3 like grounded signature options that I don't like. Like, personally, I don't think the neutral sig is as good as something that covers the 45, like Barraza, for instance. And then the down sig and side sig, like down sig's a utility thing that you don't really need to do much of. Spear kit, the neutral sig is extremely slow and a lot of the power was stripped from it. The down sig has a lot of overlap with the side sig, but they're both good tools. So right now I think I'm gonna leave her up here. She's still insanely good, but she doesn't have as much of the tools as the other characters in here. Artemis. Artemis is a tough one. I think Artemis is kind of sleeper good. Probably gonna put Artemis. I don't know how I feel about Scythe at the moment. Spear got hit pretty hard in this last 4.0 patch with losing double downlight pretty much entirely. Scythe has a pretty hard time at killing, but I find that Rocket Lance doesn't have too bad of a time at killing. This down air off the stage can be pretty devastating. And although the Lance is weak off stage normally, you have the Gimps from your Scythe. I think the two weapons complement each other very well, and her high speed lets her play really good neutral with her Scythe, which that department. It just depends on the skill of the player being able to read the opponent to secure a lot of early kills rather than trying to go past red and killing with like side light recovery on Lance or like a GPD light forward input on Scythe. But probably lower A plus tier as well. Asuri. Asuri doesn't have a lot of variety in her kit of sword guitars, but sword has a pretty decent time of killing, and she has such a good mix-up game with her guitar signatures, they can kill pretty well. Her game plan is either extremely slow or extremely fast. You can't play her at a regular speed. It does not work in standard neutral like that. Easily gets high A+. Barraza. He a little easy to pin down on sometimes because he's got decent dead zones and not a lot of fast attacks to get people off of him. He has pretty small signatures sometimes. They can feel like their hitboxes are too small for how slow they are, but they all have a pretty good use. Even like axe down signature, which seems like almost nothing, has a deceptively high hitbox and a lot of active frame. And if the person isn't totally expecting it, they actually dodge away, they can't punish it either. I'm probably gonna say it's still A+ just due to tournament results. How much fun I have with the character is extremely biased, but Azoth. Azoth, he's like, feels like a basic boy, but he doesn't have a problem with it. I don't see any problems with his kit. His bow lets him play really good neutral, and his axe can kill you really easily. He's got a great neutral signature for it, he's got a great side signature for it, and got Sayers, ground pounds, and recoveries. Weapons kind of cover everything, but we don't see too much of him. I'm tempted to put him in S, but I think I'm just gonna keep him pretty high in plus tier. Bodvar. Bodvar is also a very well-designed character with no real downside. Hammer's very good right now. Sword is still very solid. Sometimes he can't get a lot of damage going. That's pretty rare. He can generally still get strings just fine, and he doesn't struggle to pick up kills with his light attacks at all. Not all of his signatures are great. Some of them have to be pretty hard to read. Mostly like his neutral signatures. But both of his side signatures are decent for chases, and his like hammer side sig is pretty fast. And his sword down sig almost like keeps him up in these tiers with these characters because it's just such a good gimmick. Great as a spike. I don't think he's as good as Azoth, per se. He might have he's pretty much right with Azoth. I might put Azoth in front for right now. He's very close to Asuri too. These three are all very close to each other. Brynn. Brynn is a character that can struggle to hit some of their moves a little bit more than any legends. But the extra speed she has can keep her pretty high up with a lot of these guys. And she has a lot of force signatures, some of them. Her axe neutral signature feels a little lacking compared to the other ones. It feels balanced. And her spear down signature has a lot of damage on it. In ones, I'm not super sure how good of a character she is, but I know in twos, absolute menace. I think I'm gonna put her behind Barraza. Caspian. Caspian is the first fundamentally flawed character. Both of his weapons do the exact same thing, and he can't kill. They will have to absolutely break his signature kit if they want to push him up above that. And I don't think they're gonna do that. They have buffed him to where if he didn't have such a bad weapon combination, he doesn't have like god tier stats either. I don't think, when I remember. Yeah, no. He leans a lot into damage buildup in attack, but the extra force he has still doesn't make up for the fact that his weapons just don't kill early enough. Especially since they just recently took away things like being able to spike with Katar's hair so hard. That was one of the ways with a lot of force on Katar's you could score knockouts really well. Like, his signatures just aren't absurd. Like, there's characters with better sig kits than him, and they don't have bad weapon combinations like him, so he's just down there. Cassidy. Now, Cassidy, I would absolutely love through gameplay to put Cassidy at the A+ tier, but her stats, I think, pull her back down to A tier. Both of her weapons have a great time at killing, and you can get a decent amount of string damage up as well, very similar to how Bodvar is. I just think, it's mostly just her stats. That and the way some of her signatures are, they have a lot more active frames, and they're a bit easier to punish in that regard. Like, her gun down signature would have like the same roll as like Bodvar's down signature on his sword, but he shoots 3 times, so you could catch someone dodging horizontally to you, but the number of times that'll happen versus the number of times that they'll dodge vertically and you get punished hard for it, because you're doing it like off stage, like at the slide charge or something, is not generally worth it. He does have the true combo of Stomp into Lasso, but that doesn't get you as much mileage as you'd probably think. I don't think it does too much more damage than Downlight Sarah. And it doesn't kill earlier than Downlight Sarah either when you're like near the edge. It is a very, very fast signature. Like, overall, it's better than the bear that Bodvar has, but the fact that it combos doesn't make that signature bring her up a tier. She used to have D-Light Neutral Sig True on her blasters, which if she still had that, she might be brought back up to A+. But right now, she dies a little too early, and most of her stuff is generally reactable, because they changed her hammer side sig to be punishable as well, because otherwise she'd be in the same boat as Aiden. Ross, in my opinion, is like high A- or like low A. I'm gonna put him high A- at the moment. All of his signatures have extremely small threat area. The hitboxes on them are all very small. They generally have pretty good frame data. They also have extremely high force to reward you for hitting them, but you have to be very precise when using all of them, and you can't usually surprise someone out of neutral with their fast speed, because he himself isn't super fast. He has alright speed. Like, he's definitely a usable character with a pretty good weapon combination as well. He can pick up a lot of different ranges, and he can adapt to a scenario if he chooses to play one of his weapons if he match up. But he's not easy to play. He's very difficult. Mostly his difficulty is why he's down here. Diana. So, Diana can feel like she struggles to kill sometimes with her standard weapons. But they can still both pick up kills in the light attacks. Generally fine if you can outplay your opponent. And her signatures flow very well in her bow kit, and they can be very surprising, really good for reads in her gun kit. Except for Blaster's down sig. I can't figure out how to use that. I'm sure it's good. They all kill really early. Like, earlier than you'd expect for a lot of the moves. Or where you'll be able to hit them. Because you can easily poke someone from way farther than expected with a side sig. Because of that, you'll be pretty close to the side blast zone already. Or your neutral sig, you can easily just GC on bow, or get it out of a D-light or something if someone doesn't have their dodge up. And it easily confirms the kill. I do think Diana is going to be probably near... yeah, below Artemis. Love it. Very good. Dusk. Dusk doesn't have a lot of issues, but he also doesn't really have anything going for him either. He has a little bit of the cross problem, but I think Orb is generally really good. Spear is fine right now. So I think he's a bit better than Cross. I'd probably put him low A tier. He has a lot of overlap in his Spear sig kit. Hitboxes are extremely precise, but overall, I think he's alright. I do think his stats hold him back a little bit, because if I remember, he is a decent amount poured into Dex. Yeah, he's very Dex focused. So he's very okay. Honestly, if I wanted to, I could probably move him down a bit, but he usually feels pretty good while you're fighting him, kind of like Ada, why she's so high. I'm gonna stay up here. Ember. Ember has probably one of the best signatures in the entire game. If not the best signature in the entire game. It's unreactable, it takes slightly behind you, and it has a really, really soft angle that can catch landings and jumps. Yeah, a lot of float moves. Really safe. Kills pretty good. It flows in the kit generally. It's insane. She has extremely low defense, but her damage output is very, very high. I don't think her Qatar kit is very good. Like, it should feel kind of similar to something like Sentinel or Asuri, but from what I've played of it, it doesn't seem to be as good to me. I'm probably going to put Ember right around, like, just below Barraza, maybe. Fate's stupid. Fate's just dumb. Fate has way more options than a lot of the other characters in this game do. Her string and combo potential is absurdly high, so then she has more options out of it because of her initial extra options I'm talking about. Like, every character has 6 signatures, right? She has... what is it? I did this in my head the other day. 10? Because she has 2 variants on 2 of her signatures, and then she also has alternate input on 2 other ones, being like Orb down sig and Orb side sig, and then she has 2 variants on neutral sig on Scythe and side sig on Scythe. Down sig on Scythe is probably her worst signature for how slow and telegraphed it is, and it's radial. Seem to be that great in anything. Maybe getting back to the stage is a mix-up. Her Orb neutral sig hits in front of her when she jumps up and not just above her, which makes it stupid because it's so fast. Leaves her in the air. It's just, that move alone keeps her like A+, and the rest of her kit is nuts. Stats aren't fantastic, but she's so good everywhere else it doesn't matter. I don't know how much she has. Oh yeah, she's extremely fast. She can play neutral absurdly well, because Orb is one of the best neutral weapons in my opinion, because you can just throw out moves like you have 22 decks. Gnash. Gnash is kinda sleeper, in my opinion. Some people do realize how good he is, and others, they just kinda sleep on him. His whole thing on what makes him so good is he feels like he's from the beta. He has beta hitbox. He has very, very large threat areas, and some of his moves just have dummy force, like spear side sig. Anytime I see it coming, it feels like it's just a dash jump, but then dash doesn't go as high, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? And then I stabbed. Hammer spear. Very strong weapon combination. He has really low dex. It actually is so low, some people might not like playing with it, but his dex is one of the weaker stats at the moment. It kind of be a boon for him at the same time. With how sleeper he is, I might actually put him above Ada right now. It's about where Ada goes. I'll put him right above Ada. Hattori. Hattori is just really, really solid at being able to outplay you, just due to her speed and her really solid fundamental weapon set. She can do a lot of creative things with her signature kit as well. She can pick up from a lot of different places with Spear Down Sig, and both of her neutral Sigs teleport. Ends up creating a very, very good character. Mostly because she gets a grounded kill option on her spear on her side sig that works really well. She gets a reversal on her sword that's pretty fast. Probably going to put her just below Ember, but she's very good character. A lot of these characters, like I would say most of A+ tier, are all pretty close to each other. The big split kind of happens when you get to Barraza, and then the last three are a little bit more gimmicky. I might end up moving Brynn down just a little bit too. Isaiah, he has moves that during most of the game are nearly unusable. He has threat areas that are incredibly small without the speed to match them sometimes. His weapons feel like they have a little bit of overlap sometimes, but generally they'll feel different enough. I don't know. He's just okay. I personally think his neutral and down signatures on his cannon are both pretty good. His side signature on his cannon is really bad. So slow for some reason. Side sig on guns is almost too precise. Down sig on guns is low. Neutral sig on guns is okay, but the threat area is too small. He has some problem with nearly every signature. So it just kind of holds him back a bit. He is pretty chunky. He does have that. He doesn't need as much speed due to his weapon set. So his stats are honestly kind of solid. But he's got a little bit more dex than you probably want on it. Now, Jhala is basically going to be a more explosive version of Ada. Probably more overall consistent weapons if you're not confident in your matchups and things. And the character, I would say, generally could kill earlier or steal stocks earlier, just from the ridiculous force. She doesn't have the true combo into her neutral signature anymore. However, it is still 1 frame. So that's still very tight. Due to this fact, I do think I am going to put Jhala above Artemis. He has just such an explosive kit. If you can really learn the character and keep yourself from getting gimmicked by other characters, you can win most of your fights. If you aren't overall experienced at the game though, he's going to be more of a detriment than he is a help to you, because she also gets killed very early. The explosion goes both ways. It's very glass cannon. He's not very good. His moves don't pick up when they should. He has more active frames on moves, like he's doing a confirm even though he didn't hit anybody. They can be decent for catching really panicky dodges due to his high pressure because of all of his dex. But if you're fighting a better player that doesn't crack under that sort of pressure, then all of your dex gets wasted and your sigs don't pick up. He generally should have what's a good weapon combination, but it doesn't end up feeling that way. It just feels alright. I don't end up seeing many results from this guy, anecdotally, or from like tournaments and things. I'm not super sure what they have to do to him. I'm not gonna drop him in the flawed category, because I do think he doesn't need a lot. I just think they need dex to feel a little stronger in some places, and then he'll probably be moved to like top of A, which is totally fine. He can sit there. But right now, I think he's gonna chill on A-. Kaya. When this character came out, I wanted to sink a lot more time into this character than I actually have. Kaya's weapons, they can feel like they have a lot of overlap. Her signature kit can feel a little small. Her stats are all really defensive. She has a really hard time killing. The angles that her sigs send at are really bad. I'd probably say she's better than Dusk, worse than Cassidy. A tier. Koji's very solid. He has some extremely fast signatures. He's really similar to Hattori in my opinion. I might say bow is a little bit better than spear in some aspects, but yeah, I guess I would probably say Koji's a little bit better than Hattori. Possibly a little bit better than Ember overall, but I'm pretty sure that's just me liking Sword more than Katars a decent amount of the time. I do think they're extremely even. I'll probably put Koji behind Ember. I actually think both of his weapons outshine the fact that Ember has such a good single weapon. He might go above. 4. Oh, I hate fighting this guy. Stupid rock. Such a dumb rock. I personally think he's overtuned. I'm probably gonna drop him in S. He has one of the better gauntlet down signatures that I've seen. It doesn't seem to spike you much. I'm pretty sure it can. I don't know. Tested right now. Gauntlet side sig just kills you at orange. Gauntlet neutral sig kills you at white. Because he's just falling while he grabs you with it. It is insane. I'm pretty sure that's something they should have fixed and didn't. Hammer kit doesn't really have any problems. It's very similar to Bodvar. It's basically a little bit less threat area for more speed, and it's almost like 1-for-1 Bodvar's hammer kit. Like, he feels like he has more dex than he actually has, and I'm pretty sure his stats lend him to being very good. I think his only real issue is his speed. I'm pretty sure you have to run like speed stance on him and you lose defense, which is a little bit of a yikes, but it's not too bad. It's not like losing that 1 defense is horrible. It's probably worth the speed trade-off. We have 5 speed. I think he's gonna stay up there. Lin Fei. This character, it's actually actually pillows. Very much feels like pillows. And the signature kit does not feel or reflect how much dex she has. But she's probably going somewhere here. Yeah, probably just drop her top of A- right now. Kanan doesn't need a lot of dex to function that great. It seems to just be a relatively safe weapon if you can't get the string. Lin Fei can instead just go for the whole string and not get punished instead of just saring or recovering away. For Katars, obviously she gets a lot of really, really tight stuff on the Katars, but you have to be hitting these extended strings on this character almost constantly, or you're not going to win. And relying on reading an opponent, especially if you're just playing like ranked, where you don't have a set to play them in, you have a game that matters, just that one match, that can't always be reliable or consistent enough. Her side sig, it has a lot of active frames, and that's the gimmick of it. It's okay. Obviously not that great. Her side sig on like cannon kills surprisingly early, but it's pretty precise and it's not that fast either. Down sig on cannon, it's okay. Pretty small threat area. Doesn't always do what you want it to, even though it has 2 variants depending if you're off the map or not. It's solid signature, I think it's good. Her neutral signature on cannon is a bit small, but it's very, very fast. That was more of the stuff I was expecting on her. That's a good one. Neutral signature on her Katars. It's the fastest technically starting signature in the game because it has an initial hitbox at like frame 3 or something. But it is stacked. It's like smaller than her own hurtbox. And almost every time where you could throw in that signature to use it, you're generally just using a different light attack to see if you can continue your string even longer. It doesn't have active frames and a lot of recovery frames, or it looks like it should have active frames because the effect is still there. It doesn't match the animation that great. They either just need to let Lin Fei act sooner or just make the move last longer in active frames, or both. Make that move more worth it, a less stacked environment. It's just, yeah, in most instances, you generally just go for another light attack and then try to lead yourself into a recovery once you've already gotten the opponent's option with cars, not a neutral sig. And its reward, if you do go for it, isn't the same as like Queen Nai, where you go for that like stacked neutral sig option, because Queen Nai's kills at orange consistently anywhere on the map. Lin Fei's doesn't. And they both have a lot of active frames, so you get punished for both of them. It's a bit of a flaw on the character, but I do feel like it's fixable, unlike Caspian. Lord Vraxx is surprisingly good on his Lance kit, just due to the fact that he has the Gnash problem with beta hitboxes. His gun kit, I think, is solid, so I do think he goes generally at the bottom, B+. Feels like a very gimmicky character, but he's very good. You can seriously sink time into him. Play him seriously, not just as the gimmick. He relies on having crazy signatures. He doesn't go up any higher, mostly because of his stats. Like, very, very dex oriented. People usually play him for that fact. Very, like, oppressive against a lot of characters in the game, but if he gets put into disadvantage, he can't always do a lot. He'll die pretty quick. Lucien? Lucien is similar in design to Kaya, actually, from like a stats perspective, but his signature kit is much better, I would say. Along with the fact that his weapons differ a lot. He has like one of the most diverse combinations in the game, being guns or blasters and Katars. Put him above him. He goes this low. He doesn't have a lot wrong with him. He just can sometimes take a long time to kill, but he can generally find those kills somewhat consistently. Just due to his neutral signature being able to pick up grounded, and it covers a big area. On Katars, his neutral sig on guns also picks up grounded and have like a delay recovery. But he can play good enough neutral where picking up kills can actually happen. Very similar to Hattori, actually. I just think the fact that he has so much defense, he'll play this way, can hold him up here. Mirage's Scythe kit is definitely what holds her back from being really good. Her Spear kit is insane. I just think 2 of her moves on her Scythe kit are almost exactly the same. I mean, it has a slightly different threat area than her down sig, and you can kill much earlier with it, but you almost always use down sig instead. Her side sig is pretty situational as well. It boops up pretty low, but it has to be like used for like a chase something. It's very similar to how Barraza would use X side, except he is way more threat area. You know what? Congratulations to you if you stayed this long. A short break and let some people go afterward. Alright. Hope everybody's still doing well. Took a short break, refilled my water. We're gonna get some tunes going. Because I totally forgot to have them going for the first half, and I'm not redoing because I'm an idiot. I have a few small audio tweaks to hopefully help everything go a little smoother, sound a little better. You know, because you guys definitely want to hear my voice. Where did we leave off? The dog! Mordex. The one that pleads for Mordex. He forces you to play his game. I do think he's an alright character. He has active inputs, which will keep him in the higher tiers. Although his weapon set isn't actually very diverse. He needs to force you to play his game, otherwise he can't run much of a show. I think he's gonna be bottom of A+ right now. He might get moved top of A or something like that, but he goes around there. Nyx. Nyx is overplayed. For certain. Her signatures are slower to use when you're playing her than to fight when you're against her. So it makes a weird dynamic. Overall, I think just about everything in this character is average or usable in some way. It has a very strange weapon set to use. Just everything feels relatively balanced. Nyx can be a little heavier or harder to kill than one might expect. And she can absolutely take someone by surprise with a vertical hitting spike, which is an option almost no legend really has, unless they have a hammer. So it creates a totally different threat that guns don't normally have. I think Nyx can get along with Mirage. Nyx can go in there. The new girl on the block, Onyx. I don't think I can confidently place Onyx anywhere because I'm not very experienced with gauntlets or cannon. And from what I've seen, I can basically only place the fact that the gauntlet side signature is very good. And I guess I could say the cannon kit overall seems decent. To be honest, I don't even remember what Onyx cannon side sig is. People... Oh, it's the tail. That's right, they smack the tail. Yeah, that's a really good move. Okay. As you can see, I just don't have the experience against Onyx, really. So I don't know if I can place Onyx anywhere. Probably just slap them in A. Okay. Right here, we have the onion. Now, if you all know me, I'm part of Yellow Man Bad, but he's not really like that. He has 100% Gnash syndrome. He's a cheeser, and he relies on beta hitboxes for a lot of his signatures. His weapon combo is a bunch of pointy sticks. He has one for each horn on his head. Not like... He can feel oppressive at times, but sometimes it's the player behind him more than the character. It's really hard to say. I think I'm gonna put him right above Gnash. I do think the Orion killer Artemis is a bit better than him. And some of these other characters can be more threatening with their spikes or early kill options. Like Asuri sword neutral sig was better than like Orion spear neutral sig, but he still definitely has one. He goes up here. Petra. Petra's a very interesting character because Petra has a near useless signature that has a mix-up within itself, although the move itself should never be used, so it doesn't get a lot of value within orb down signature. I don't know what they're thinking about making its charge make it not hit as low. It's very weird. Orb side signature on it, or on Petra, also doesn't seem too great. Neutral sig has a lot of area coverage, and her gauntlet kit is crazy good. Although it can feel very simple in what it does, it's all extremely aggressive, extremely fast. Lots of damage. The weapon combo lacks a lot of range. Like, you can play really good neutral with the orb and score your kills with it, but you're only really using your gauntlets for a few different offstage scenarios and a few different matchups. But it has the better signatures of the kit. So I do think it actually has Petra just a bit below Brynn. I think this is probably lower than she might deserve. I might move her in a bit when we review everything later. She's a little too glass cannony, I guess, and has a little too low of dex, so you have to play really confident neutral. But if you can play confident neutral, obviously, that's not a problem. Let me turn that down just a bit. Queen 9. I would absolutely love to drop Queen 9 in the A- tier, although most people would argue they go in the flawed tier. I know. I do think Queen 9 is going to be the absolute top of A-. I say that with pride, as I have lots of time into Queen 9. Queen 9, can definitely feel like a zoner character on her spear. So her speed isn't actually as big of an issue on it. The big flaw comes in when you get to Katars. To play any bit of effective Katars, you need a lot of speed, especially with the shortened range on Sidelight now, and things like that. But the weapons themselves is such a good combination that even though they're on a legend that should technically ruin the effectiveness of both of them, it's still usable. It's still solid. She might feel a little weaker than she has been in the past right now, just because they took out the fact she had D-Light neutral sig true on Spear, but I'm pretty confident that that change with like the double D-Light being removed was an accident, and probably going to be tightened with like maybe an extra frame of stun or something. Maybe a few extra frames of stun on D-Light just to give us combos back. Maybe they'll just have the setup location be a little closer. I'm not really sure. Maybe they'll make it more reliant on Dex so some characters get it back and not 9. We'll see what happens. But playing a speed stance 9 can actually surprise people not ready for the pick in 1s, and she's actually pretty solid in 2s. Because getting in is much easier because there's much more going on and people are distracted. They have a lot to look at. Not to mention she has some of the best confirms in the entire game and free edge guarding. Ragnir. God, this stupid dragon. He's one of the legends I hate the most. Like, if I went off of signatures alone, he would be S tier. He has 2 spikes on his Katars that cover down, like high and low, and his side sig has lots of range and covers above him, like if you land on top of him during it. His axe side sig is extremely fast and can spike. His umbrella is massive and faster than it should be, and his down sig he can edge guard and fall with. He's got everything. He's got all he needs. It makes him an absolute menace in 2s where you can play a little bit more signature heavy and get confirms. However, he doesn't have any true combos that actually kill. He has to fish for one of his kill moves directly. So for that reason alone, he's probably going to get dropped here. He is insane. His stats are also very, very good from what I remember. Just take a quick peek and make sure I'm not lying. Yeah, no, he's got very rounded stats, almost ideal. Like, literally, like, move a point from dex into speed, or maybe into attack if that's what you want, and he's got it. Rayman. Rayman, secretly a menace. He has a lot of off-stage presence that you wouldn't really expect. He's also a meme, so he demoralizes the enemy. I want to put him in A+, but looking at a lot of the characters in A+ and their potential, I'm not sure if he belongs. He's probably gonna go bottom of A+. He again has very, very good stats, and all of his signatures have a pretty good use. He doesn't have much wrong with them. His chargeable variants are pretty solid. Do a slight adjust on the volume there. Yeah, I don't know if I have a lot to say about him, honestly. He can exert a type of pressure by floating that not a lot of characters can do, but it's pretty rare that you actually get to use something like that. He's got a very good weapon combo. So for that, I might actually move him to about Petra. Yeah. Scarlet. Scarlet is a character. This is one of like the top 3 that I dislike playing against. Simply due to the fact that Hammer Side Sig is beta. It has beta hitboxes. The character also had way too much force for a really long time, but is a little bit more brought in live. Yeah, Hammer Side Sig alone kind of carries this character. That and Lance Neutral Sig has way too many active frames. I don't know what's up with that. I think this character can stand at the top of probably with Ember. I still think Brynn's probably a little bit more versatile. I might go here. She might even get moved down a little bit more. Yeah, we'll just say just below Rayman. Sentinel. Sentinel is very sleeper. He has really good weapon combo. Like, really good weapon combo. I'm pretty sure his stats are relatively tanky, if I remember. You can't cheap out a lot on his signatures, but his Hammer Side Sig hits deceptively high, and his Guitar Neutral Sig has a lot of active frames. His other 2 Guitar Sigs are also pretty solid. I think these kinds of things can hold him up to about Koji's level. Possibly near Gnash's level, Ada. I might put him just below Barraza. I do think Barraza's a little bit better. I might actually move him below Koji. These 2 are pretty interchangeable. I'll probably put them up there. Sidra. This is one of the characters that you forget is in the game sometimes. You don't see a lot of Sidra. The 2 pirates, they just don't come up a lot. Cannon and sword, I actually think is a pretty strong weapon combination. One is pretty rigid and consistent to play, and then the other one can let you zoom around everywhere pretty safely. And feels really awkward. I still don't totally understand Canon myself. I can't play it, so it's hard for me to weigh on some of these Canon legends. The one I've been trying to learn Canon on is like Lin Fei. I've had the most fun with. But I originally started off trying to do like Sidra, and it was decent. Sidra's kit has a weird side sig that I'm not super sure how much value you can get out of. A good neutral sig that doesn't hit overly high, and a down sig that is almost gets completely removed because of how bad its launch angle is. I'm gonna put Sidra below Mirage. I don't think there's anything wrong with the character. Actually, her sword down sig is pretty good of an option. I think I might put her near Nyx's level. Yeah, I don't think there's actually anything wrong with Sidra. I just think she needs some sort of development in her metagame, maybe, or some sort of small buff. Maybe they revert Sword Downlight's range or something. Maybe Sword Sidelight's ability to combo and follow up. If Sword didn't get hit so hard, I feel like Sidra would probably go near the A+ tier. If not in the A+ tier. He's already very close. So Roland. So Roland as a character is designed to be steadfast, tanky, and consistent. I think he is not as good as Cassidy, but a bit better than Kaya. Sir Roland has a very strange side signature on Lance, but he also has a somewhat questionable side signature on his sword as well, but it like picks up stack right like above his head, which is kind of what you use it for, which is strange, but you can. But his other moves, like Lance down sig and Lance neutral sig's active frames, and like sword down sig's sheer area, the sword neutral sig's overall range as well, are actually, they're much better than he usually gets credit for. And both of the weapons can rack up damage fine. He doesn't have issue playing neutral with them. They can kill just fine. If he gets a development on the metagame, like maybe Koslix actually goes back into the lab with him and keeps playing with him instead of dropping him, he might go a bit higher. But from like a ranked perspective, he feels good. I wouldn't be worried that he's an A. He's a very good character. He's not great like these guys. They also have something great about them. He's good. He's solid. He can beat most of these, especially if he gets a matchup into guitars with his lance. Teros. He hit hard. He hit hard a lot. He has a combo that does a lot of damage. Stomp down sig on hammer. I'm not sure why it's in the game. His weapons do kind of do the same thing, so he can't do too much adaptation, but you have to respect him. You absolutely have to respect him, and he can use that fact that you have to respect him. Makes for a very interesting mind game. I do think Scarlet has better tools, because she feels a bit faster, I think, when you're fighting her. I'll have to check the stats, but I think Teros can go to the top of A. And it's not because of like their movement speed. I do think it is purely the fact of like dex, like overall attack pressure, being able to punish things. Teros has a slower game because of his dex. He has to be more sure on what moves he throws out. Scarlet can play more of like a regular style of neutral. Thatch. He has cannonballs. They cover a lot. They cover a lot of options. His sword kit is also really good, but he has an overlap in blaster signatures that removes one of them, so he basically has 5. I'm not sure what the decision was for that one. Like, his entire blaster's kit is kind of ruined, and it's part of the reason why he can't get a super high score. He's fine, he's playable, but his low defense and his blaster kit being a little gutted, if you don't know how to use the cannonballs, he kind of goes. I think he kind of goes with Dusk and Kaya. He basically is relying on like one of his weapons, which isn't great when you could pick a lot of other characters that have both of theirs work. I'm thinking about it. It might possibly actually land him into the fundamentally flawed category, but they might just need to add a different feature or like an alternate input onto his blaster's neutral signature or something, like have it be reversible if he hits it or something, or have him have an alternate input to send like upward or downward or something. Just something, saying something, oh my god, so much. More like, kind of like how Fate's orb sig works, where she can choose to send forward or up. He just needs something like that to warrant its existence a little bit more. Or have him be able to chain shot like 3 times if he holds the key. Or delay it like Koji. He just needs something, and I think it's more programmable than having to mess with the game's mechanics. Thor. Thor is, in my opinion, S tier. Orb is insanely good at neutral and is pretty good at building up damage, in my experience, even though a lot of what I'm doing is somewhat string-based, more than like combos for building my damage. Like, and they're not like overly tight. Orb has enough combos to consistently kill as well. Hammer can decently build up damage, that's why it was nerfed not too long ago. It can reliably kill. His signatures are fantastic at stealing kills early, at denying area. He can recover really well with his orb, because he gets an extra option that most characters don't have. He has a gimmick on his orb down sig, where you can blast people trying to punish it with a short weapon or attack. You can charge it over the edge to fall if someone's stuck to the wall and they're scared and they don't want to come off. He's just great. Yeah, I don't know if I have too much more to say. His low movement speed is probably the worst part about him, but if you can't play a lot of low movement speed, you can generally put the stance on him. You can generally fly the stance on him, and then he's zooming. The orb generally has enough frame data on it to where his dex actually isn't an issue. And the difference between 3-dex and 4-dex is pretty big. The ends of the spectrum were the biggest. They were reined in and were still the biggest gaps. Ulgrim is very similar to Teros and Scarlet, being like the weapons and how you play it. From what I see in my mind objectively, he should probably be better than both of them. Because he still has a ground combo that he can punish a bad move or something, or a bad dodge that can kill, along with being able to steal the early kills off the side, or get like a radial knockout with a recovery. He doesn't have the stomp Sare, which might be the strongest bit between those two, which is probably what keeps him somewhat close to them, or possibly in between the two. But I think his signature kit is probably the best. Neutral sig on Lance is very fast. Down sig on Axe is also really fast with a massive hitbox. He picks up grounded with his neutral sig on Axe as well, and it spikes. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid kit. I know he has the chainsaw that he can hold, but the position of it isn't fantastic, and I don't think it actually comes out that quick. he might go just right above Scarlet. Kind of like right here. His stats lean into having, like, being a little chunkier as well. I think he actually has some defense, unlike the previous two. Basically, he's better if you don't have to rely on going for, like, stomp Sarah kills with a hammer. If you do, then he's not going to be as good. So maybe he's up here because he's better in 2s than them, and maybe he's worse in 1s, but I'll leave him here. Getting into the end of the alphabet. Sure. Val. Val still looks like a guy. So if I say he, I'm sorry. She... I think she's fallen off a bit due to a little bit of power creep, but I still think the character is very good. I think the fact that she has 3 side sigs on her sword is absurd. The gauntlet kit has a little bit of overlap, but is generally fine and pretty usable, pretty good. It's a very solid fundamental character. Pretty easy to pick up, pretty easy to build up damage. I think killing is kind of Val's problem. Val doesn't have the easiest time doing it. It's a little bit of a flaw. I think I'm gonna put Val above Mordex because there's more versatility there. Maybe above Vraxx too. Vector. I doubt more than 3 people on planet Earth know how to play Vector to anywhere near his potential. His bow kit seems very, very good. His lance, while very strange, is not much we've actually ever seen on lance before. So, to be safe with him, because there's not a lot I can do with him. He's very fast too. That helps him out a lot. And none of his other stats actually lack too much to hurt him, from what I remember. I might put him top of A. Let me check. Vector, what are your stats looking like? Okay, yeah, no, those are very good stats. It's just he's missing a little bit, but you have to sacrifice something for all that speed. Alright, next we have the vampire Volkov. He has a unexplainably fast axe that most players will be caught off guard by. And then he also has a pretty scary scythe that he has good hitboxes on, unlike Jiro, who also has the high dex scythe. So he's generally the much better option if you want your high dex scythe. No, he can just get creative. He's got a lot of stuff he can do, and his weapon combo is pretty good. You can build up damage on scythe, and you can kill with axe pretty good. That's pretty well. He feels, in my opinion, kind of like a shifted around, less powerful Ragnir of sorts. I don't think he is as good as some of the other glass cannon-y characters, but objectively he should probably be near Ada, I'm thinking. I'll put him just above Ada, I think. Just so you know, the characters in their order on a tier doesn't matter too much. I'm probably misordering a decent number of them just because I'm stupid. But overall, their placement in tiers is probably what matters the most. And as you can tell, there is a large majority of the characters in A+. The game is very well balanced. Wuxian. He has an unpunishable, unreactable kill option on Spear on the ground. That's insane. He has a pretty fast, pretty darn fast signature on his neutral sig on Spear as well. He has a pretty powerful spike that can spike from pretty far, or at least set up for an edge guard pretty far mid stage on his gauntlets in his side sig. His down sig on gauntlets is a vacuum, I swear. Neutral sig on gauntlets works great as a follow-up for your string and, you know, going into your reads. I just think he overall struggles at killing without his crazy signature set. So he's kind of like Val in this situation. But I do think he has a better time than Val does. I'm like thinking about it so much so it might even go to like above Petra. It's possible. It's around Scarlet, but probably put him above Scarlet. Zol. This is the old Zol. We just got patched and he just forgot to shave. Zol. This is Teros 2. Not much to say about him. He has a decent bit of overlap on his axe kit. His axe kit, in my opinion, is not that good in terms of signatures. They're all fine and usable, but they're in more niche situations than a lot of sigs in the game. Like, his axe neutral sig hits really high and takes people by surprise. His axe side sig is, again, surprise reversal, and his down sig is like the most standard move that's used for going for like a kill and more safety. But dash side light hits farther than his down sig does, so just building damage with it is not really going to happen. His cannon kit, I would say, is a bit better. He has a pretty good mix-up on letting his bear trap fall. His down sig can be a good trap, especially in 2s. And his side sig is a bit faster than the one on his axe, so you can catch people with it more often. I don't know if I can say he's better or worse than Teros. They're very similar. Overall, I think Cannon, although I'm more inexperienced with it, this might not be the case, I think it can string better and probably build up more damage. But it might have a harder time trying to get in. I don't know how good sidelight actually is. It seems like it covers a lot of area and downlight pokes pretty far, but I'm not good at it, so we'll have to fill me in if this is a wrong place to put it. He might get moved a little bit. He might get moved up to like where Vraxx is. I might do that. But they're very similar to Teros. They're not very far at all. Yumiko. Yumiko is a character that on paper should be extremely good. In most practices though, she doesn't perform as well as you'd expect. Her weapon set should be one of the best in the game. She does struggle at killing a little bit, but her weapons can help make up for it somewhat. She has some of the best neutral tools. I just think we have to develop her metagame a bit more with her soul orbs, or whatever you call them, the soul fire thingies, wisps, I don't know. She's a blind seamstress, but I don't know if the whole fiery thing ever got explained. Anyway, they have very good setups, but you have to actually know how to execute on the setups. It's a character you have to pour time into to be good at. I think it's kind of like kind of like Cross in that aspect, but I do think Yumiko's a bit better than Cross. Her priority is a little bit better now on her bow signatures, but they can still be beaten out with an attack if they are too obvious. Things like Spear and Light will, like stop you in your tracks. So I think Yumiko is going to get a similar boat as Vector. Zariel. Now, Zariel, I actually think is kind of sleeper good. His priority on his moves are either really good or they're really fast. The angles his moves send at are also very good. All of his bow signatures spike. That's crazy. Punishing him in twos is also difficult because he moves a ton in his confirms if they're long confirms. He doesn't have a strictly really good killing weapon, but he's a little beefier. And his signatures are like kind of overtuned, so he's alright in that aspect. I'm just surprised we don't see him. I think we can develop his metagame a little bit more. More players play him. We'll see what happens. But, like, this is a to be safe placement. I do actually think he is possibly at, like, Brynn's level of good. He is surprisingly good, in my opinion. He's just below the I hate fighting category. Yeah. Let me check his stats again to see if I should move him. Yeah, I think people just avoid playing him due to his low speeds, like Queen Nai. But he has like one of the solid weapon sets where it's like a very balanced weapon and then a damage build-up weapon like Queen Nai. He just is slightly faster than Queen Nai because he has one more speed point, so you could put into speed and then get 5, which I think is usually playable in ones. Obviously, it's more hard, especially if you're playing against something like a Hattori. You might want to swap if they're gonna bully you, but if you're playing like a 6 speed, that's, putting a stat into, defense they're taking out of Dex or something, then you're not going to feel the difference, really. The fact that it takes out of attack, too, it doesn't hurt him too much because he's going after his signatures for a lot of his kills anyway. And defense, you'll have active pretty much all the time, while Zariel can kill you offstage. Like, his offstage game's surprisingly strong, and he can set up for it with his bow really easily. So I just think he's really sleeper. Like, just no one plays him, and if someone really did dedicate time into him, I think they could go pretty far. Especially that they brought gauntlets kind of back into the game with the stun buff again. You can confirm way more stuff. Anyway, that will pretty much conclude everything. I'll get back to you in a couple seconds after a jump cut if I decide to move anything around after a little review. And I'll tell you what or why I move anything if I do.